both players are now getting more fully set up in game here. We'll be watching the match from Ben's perspective, fighting off against Sasha here. The Raging Bolt on Sasha's side is probably going to be extremely important, I'd imagine. Normally, you want to bring your Raging Bolt against Sun teams. Although normally, Raging Bolt would be fighting off against Groudon. Even into Groudon, it can still be pretty good. Although Raging Bolt obviously doesn't like taking a lot of damage from Precipice Blades. Normally, it can survive one. And then a Sun-boosted Draco Meteor in response could do a lot of damage. The Raging Bolt is holding the Assault Vest item, so it's not going to be as effective into Ben's team because of how physically oriented it is. With a Groudon, Single-Strike Urshifu, and Hearthflame Ogerpon, you can see that it's got a lot of physical damage. Really, the only special damage is coming from that Raging Bolt. The Jumpluff, although it could use special attacks like Leaf Storm, has opted not to. Instead, it's using 4 supporting attacks. Rage Powder, Encore, Tailwind, and Sleep Powder. So, Sleep Powder, a bit of rolling the dice. I don't know how well the Sleep Powder will be into Sasha's team. Her team has quite a few Spore immunities, not only having the Amoonguss and Incineroar with safety goggles, but also having that Ursaluna with the Flame Orb, which will prevent the sleep from being applied onto the Ursaluna once it gets burned. Lunala also has Terra Grass as well to potentially get around Sleep Powder. So lots of grass types to go around. I think the Groudon here is going to be the star of the show, though. Groudon is going to weaken the damage from Urshifu. Although it will buff Raging Bolt, it will still take super effective damage from its Precipice Blades. Amoonguss is going to take heavy damage from Heat Crash. Incineroar is not going to like taking Precipice Blades. Ursaluna can take hits, but it's not going to be dealing a lot of damage back with its powerful physical defense, so we'll have to see how it goes. Both players are, again, still just getting ready. The venue here is getting round 2 started off, and we now have team preview. So yeah, I think it's going to depend on how well this Groudon can operate. The Ogerpon is also like pretty threatening. Follow Me should prevent the Groudon from getting hit by almost anything threatening, really. The Lunala can go for Meteor Beam, which would be super effective into the Ogerpon, so you have to watch out for that. But outside of that, the Groudon, I think, is really well positioned here. Looks like Ben here considering bringing the Groudon in the back, weakening Sasha's team first before sending it out. So considering the Dark Urshifu as well. Dark Urshifu, of course, is going to be very threatening to the Lunala. I don't think it will knock out the Lunala in a single hit through Shadow Shield, even if the Lunala does not Terrasilize. But it will make the Lunala inclined to go for that Terrasilization, and baiting out a Terra early is always going to be nice, especially because, again, the Groudon does deal a lot of damage with that Heat Crash attack, so that'll do heavy damage into the Lunala. If it Terrasilizes to Terra Grass to get around that Wicked Blow, then it could be on the receiving end of a Heat Crash later. We see the Lunala being let off with Incineroar into that Urshifu and Groudon. So Incineroar's Intimidate not going to be effective against the Groudon, who is holding that Clear Amulet item. And actually, interestingly enough, is faster than the Groudon. When 2 Pokemon activate their abilities like that, the Pokemon that activates their ability first is determined by speed. So Incineroar here being faster than Groudon potentially could be relevant for getting off a Will-O-Wisp. Will-O-Wisp into the Groudon would significantly neuter its impact, but I think it's going to be very tricky to get that off. Not only does Ben have multiple fire types that he can switch into to block that Will-O-Wisp, but also he's got a Terra Fire on the ground as well. But no Terra Fire coming out. Instead, just to protect from the Urshifu, which is going to block that Fake Out, preventing it from getting its Focus Sash broken. Groudon using Bulk Up here will increase its attack and defense by 1 stage, which will not help with the Lunala's extra damage, but let's see what it goes for. Is that going to be a Meteor Beam? Nope, just a Trick Room. Setting up Trick Room is interesting here because, again, we saw from that Speed Owner interaction that the Groudon is actually slower than the Incineroar now. So I think a Precipice Blades would just knock out the Incineroar, deal heavy damage to the Lunala, and Wicked Blow would pick up a KO from there. That's fairly telegraphed, I'd say. Even if the players aren't paying attention to the Speed Order interaction, I think you would probably still not want that to happen. So yeah, we do see a Wide Guard come out. That does leave you open to a Wicked Blow, but no Wicked Blow to start off. Instead, we're going to be moving Groudon first with that Bulk Up. Again, moving first in Trick Room. Even if it gets burned now, it will have +2 defense, and that'll still be pretty effective, but no burn coming out, respecting the option for Terra Fire. Instead, a Parting Shot into the Urshifu. That will reduce the damage of Urshifu's close combat or Sucker Punch attacks, but it won't reduce the damage of Wicked Blow. And if Wicked Blow lands into this Lunala right now, it's going to take a ton of damage since it didn't terrestrialize itself. So Sasha has a tricky Pokemon to decide to bring in. Decides to bring in Drizzy Jr., the Ursaluna. That would be able to take a Wicked Blow comfortably, but yeah, Lunala taking 90% from that attack. That critical hit being guaranteed, doing huge damage. And although Ursaluna does get in with its Flame Orb active, I don't think it's going to be threatening a knockout on the Groudon. It's certainly not threatening a knockout on the Urshifu. Urshifu having that Focus Sash item will mean it can survive one attack no matter what. For sure, it's going to survive a Facade. That means that the Urshifu can dedicate a turn to throwing an attack on the Lunala. Using Sucker Punch into that would pin it from and prevent it from using Moongeist Beam, though honestly, I'd expect Groudon to probably underspeed the Lunala. We haven't seen the direct interaction between these two Pokemon since Lunala has been using moves that act outside of its normal priority range. We see a Terrestrialization come out here, actually. I imagine... Oh, actually, it's Tear Ghost onto the Ursaluna. That would make it immune to a incoming close combat, if that's what was aimed at it. It will make it weaker to Wicked Blow on subsequent turns, though, so we'll have to see what happens. Groudon says, I'm not going to mess around. I don't know what you're going to do. I'm just going to protect. I think it's pretty safe to do so. I'll burn a turn of Trick Room. Urshifu decides to do the same, too. So, 2 protects. The Lunala opts for another Wide Guard. I'm imagining that this is going to be... well, actually, it doesn't really matter what the Ursaluna goes for. Just an Earthquake. That would have dealt some damage to the Groudon and broken the Focus Sash on the Urshifu. It also would have avoided a Sucker Punch from that Urshifu landing into the Lunala. But now with the Terra Ghost spent on Ursaluna, Ursaluna is now... I don't think it likes the position it's in now. A Sucker Punch could still land into that Lunala slot, and then Heat Crash could be used into the Ursaluna, taking it out. So that could be pretty tricky. Instead, we see, I think, a smart play here as well coming out from Ben, switching in the Incineroar, reducing the damage that this Ursaluna will take. Likely Groudon is slower than this Lunala, so you can just pick it off with Heat Crash here. Lunala opts to go for that Wide Guard again, expecting these Precipice Blades to come out. No Precipice Blades, though. We do just see an Earthquake to start off with, another Ground-type move that will deal heavy damage to the Incineroar, but if the Incineroar is trained defensively at all, it should be able to survive this attack. Yep, as it does. And Groudon's Heat Crash will be able to pick off the Lunala at the low amount of HP that it's at. So, Incineroar now on the board, threatening an active Fake Out. And because of the Intimidate and the 2 bulk ups that this Groudon has received from those turns earlier, it is under no pressure from this Ursaluna. Unlike last round where we saw Ursaluna kind of sweep in Trick Room, it's definitely not going to be able to break through the Groudon like this. Incineroar comes back in. It's only going to be able to intimidate the other Incineroar, but we've seen already that the Incineroar on Sasha's side is actually faster than this Groudon, so slower in Trick Room. Potentially that means if Ben knows the speed interactions between his Incineroar and Groudon, would know if the Incineroar on his side is faster in Trick Room now than Sasha's Incineroar. That could be impactful for Fake Out. Fake Out would let Ben just go for Fake Out into Incineroar, throw off a Precipice Blades, and that would have dealt heavy damage to whatever wants to come in here. But it looks like that's not what's going to happen. Instead, we see a switch out. Urshifu is the last Pokemon for Sasha. Groudon protects itself. Not going to take any damage this turn, but likely not much aimed its way. Just a Fake Out. The Fake Out not doing anything into that Groudon's Protect. Incineroar, not wanting to mess around to see who's faster, instead goes for the knockoff into the Urshifu. That will remove its Life Orb. And Sun is gone as well. That is kind of important. With the Trick Room over here, that was Ben's one opportunity to get a really big hit off with Precipice Blades. Now you're kind of in a tricky spot. Like, you don't really want to just give your Groudon up. With Sun gone, I'm not sure if it can survive the Searching Strikes attack. Although the Life Orb was removed, this will deal 3 critical hits into this Groudon. Is that going to be enough for a KO? Ooh, it might be close. The first one did quite a bit. If it does the exact amount of damage this time, it'll get a KO. But no, not enough. Instead, Groudon just barely survives. But this Incineroar could follow up with its own knockoff, seeing that it's faster. No knockoff follow-up. Instead, just a Will-O-Wisp into the Groudon. That's going to burn it and reduce its damage. I think you'd like to have seen a knockoff there if you're Sasha, but a Precipice Blaze is going to come out, and this is still going to do heavy damage into both Pokemon. You can't hardly see the Pokemon taking the damage because of Groudon's model there, but Precipice Blades and Knockoff is enough to pick up the KO on Incineroar, and the burn will finish off the remaining amount of HP on the Groudon. So both players now should be well aware of the speed interactions between all their Pokemon. We do see that the Incineroar on Ben's side is slower than the Incineroar on Sasha's side. So I think at this point, though, with a Focus Sash Urshifu in the back, as well as that unrevealed Hearthflame Ogerpon, it's looking pretty good, I'd say, if you're Ben. Wicked Blow is going to do heavy damage to this Ursaluna, if not just straight up knock it out, especially if you Terrasilize to Dark. And then if Incineroar doesn't get KO'd, well, what are you going to do then? Knockoff will deal some damage into the Ursaluna potentially. Actually, just an Aqua Jet landing into the Incineroar. That'll finish it off for sure. But that means that there's no attack dedicated at this Urshifu on Ben's side, meaning it will always survive this attack. This Ursaluna has no way of attacking the Urshifu on Ben's side to KO it through that Focus Sash. So close combat will drop its defenses, but that's no problem for Ben. A Focus Sash means that it will always survive this incoming Facade with 1 health. And having 1 health is all you need here. A Terra Dark Wicked Blow is looking awfully tempting if you're Ben. Ben does have to reveal the last Pokemon here, but that was fairly likely to happen. Ogerpon should eliminate any further doubt. I don't think there's any shot now that you see Ben lose this one. In fact, I would like to see probably a Follow Me here. The advantage of doing that would be you don't reveal the speed order between your 2 Pokemon. If you go for this Wicked Blow and Ivy Cudgel, then you reveal that your Ogerpon is faster than your Urshifu. Potentially could be relevant for later. Won't be relevant for this game, though, as Wicked Blow will easily finish off the Ursaluna from the HP it was at. The Terra Ghost Ursaluna, potentially trying to dodge a close combat earlier, gets punished by that Wicked Blow later on, making it so Ben here wins game 1. So if I'm Sasha, the things that I'm thinking about are how to use my Incineroar most effectively. We saw that Ben didn't Terrasilize Groudon at all. Ben was very close to the chest with Terrasalization. Had a couple opportunities to potentially go for it with Groudon, but decided, no, I'm going to play very defensively instead, go for those Protects, switch into Incineroar, things like that. Play it hyper safe. And I think that's probably fairly reasonable in this matchup. Ben's Groudon is just so good. You saw that even burned, its Precipice Blades did so much damage. Imagine if it wasn't burned and got that attack off in Trick Room. It could be devastating for Sasha's team. And we saw also that Sun, if it lasts around long enough, the Urshifu will be impacted by that too, so it won't be able to deal as much damage with the Surging Strikes attack into Groudon. So all in all, I'd say Ben's pretty happy about that game 1. Felt pretty comfortable if I'm Ben. The damage trades that Groudon was able to do were just so effective. Sasha didn't get really anything going. Lunala was stuck using Wide Guard a bunch, and although although your restricted Pokemon using a powerful support move like Wide Guard is effective, if that's all it's doing, then your partner better be doing something to take advantage of it, and we didn't see that there, I think, from Sasha. So I'd like to see Sasha's Lunala be used more effectively here. Getting that Meteor Beam and Moongeist damage off into the Groudon, I think, could be pretty effective. I would love to see something like a Will-O-Wisp and Meteor Beam combination attack into the Groudon on a turn where it feels like it can't protect. That would punish it regardless of Terrasalization. I'd love to see it play like that. We see Urshifu and Lunala start off into the Groudon Raging Bolt. And, ooh boy, I don't think this is what you want to see if you're Sasha. Sasha's Urshifu is holding the Life Orb, which means that it does not have a Focus Sash to rely on in order to take this potential Thunderclap coming out from this Raging Bolt. The special attack being boosted is just really devastating here. Urshifu, to get around that, would have to go for Protect or Aqua Jet. Both of those attacks will deal negligible damage here. And Lunala, although it's probably going to get away with not being double targeted this turn, nevertheless, it doesn't have a great punish. Meteor Beam wouldn't do very much damage into the Groudon, which is not under pressure of Terrasalization, but we actually don't see a Thunderclap. We just see a Surging Strike slant into that Groudon, so that's really crucial damage that Ben could potentially avoid with a Thunderclap there. Groudon taking slightly under half of its health from that play. The Lunala is likely to move next here. No, actually, we see a Precipice Blades go off. hitting into the Urshifu and breaking the multi-scale on Lunala, which now gets hit by a Thunderbolt, dealing some damage, and Lunala's such Trick Room. I don't know if that really improves your board, though. I imagine that was done so the Ursaluna in the back potentially could come in and deal more damage with those facades. The Groudon being so damaged this early is important, though. That felt kind of like a missed opportunity to nab the Urshifu. Perhaps Ben thought that's too easy. You might pivot into your own Ursaluna here, but I don't want to commit too hard to punishing that and attacking with Dragon Pulse or something like that. Instead, I'm just going to double into the Lunala, deal some heavy damage to it, potentially set up for later. Still, this turn is awkward for Sasha. If Ursaluna is in the back, then Ursaluna does need Trick Room to function, so Trick Room did need to go up at some point, but on this turn, you've got a tricky position. The Urshifu is switching out, the Ursaluna is switching in, but I believe there was a Draco Meteor aimed that way. That was a pretty reasonable move to make, too. The Urshifu was really likely to want to get out of there. And yeah, Draco Meteor into this Ursaluna deals so much damage, dealing like 90% of Ursaluna's health. Precipice Blades does hit into that wide guard, so good call there, getting the Precipice Blades out from Ben. But now Sasha's in a really tricky spot. Although Ursaluna is immune to that Thunderclap, and so it can go for a ground type attack into both the Raging Bolt and the Groudon. I don't think an Earthquake's going to get Groudon from here. And if Earthquake's not going to get Groudon from here, then a Groudon could still respond back with just a Heat Crash to pick up the remaining HP on Ursaluna or Groudon. If Ben still has that Urshifu in the back, which we do see that he does, Sucker Punch will be able to finish off the remaining bit of HP of Ursaluna, regardless of Terrestrialization. So, tricky turn for Ben. He's likely to take a lot of damage here, but it's about how much damage he takes. We do see a switch out of Raging Bolt, wanting to conserve that Pokemon for later. Urshifu does come in. Lunala also switching out, wanting to save its remaining HP for later. And we see P. Daniel come in. I don't think we've seen that Pokemon yet. Is that Amoonguss? Yeah, Amoonguss here in a great spot. Earthquake coming out. That's going to hit the Amoonguss for some damage, but importantly, dealing a lot of damage back to the Groudon and Urshifu, breaking its Focus Sash. So that is good, I'd say. Like, getting the Earthquake off and breaking the Focus Sash on Urshifu are important things, and Amoonguss can potentially be the Pokemon to deal with the Raging Bolt later. Although it did take a lot of damage on switching for that play. We'll have to see. There's just so much HP now on Ben's side, and it's tricky to figure out how you're going to get through it all. Groudon does switch out. If a Spore was aimed at the Groudon slot, then this Ogerpon coming in would be able to absorb it, taking the Spore and having nothing to show for it either. The Urshifu also going for Protect. That would block a Spore, not an attack from the Urshifu, but there's no attack from Urshifu aimed at the opposing Urshifu. Instead, it's just an Aqua Jet landed into that Ogerpon, dealing no damage, well, not no damage, but very low damage in the sun. Spore lands into that Urshifu's Protect. So calling that the Urshifu on the opposing side wouldn't be aimed that way. Now the Urshifu on, well, I don't think it's still clear one way or another how this pans out. We did see that the Ogerpon was faster than the Urshifu on Ben's side, out of Trick Room, which means that this Urshifu is likely faster than the Urshifu on, this Ogerpon is likely faster than the Urshifu on Sasha's side. So potentially gonna get off a close combat here in Trick Room. We'll have to see what happens though. Instead, just an Aqua Jet. I don't think it's gonna do enough in the sun. Nope, not enough damage there. The Amoonguss will have an opportunity to fire back with Pollen Puff, but not into the opposing Urshifu, instead into the Urshifu on Sasha's side, healing it up. That will recover a lot of HP, but this Amoonguss now taking Wicked Blow. Oh, the Urshifu survives the Rocky Helmet damage too, and Wood Hammer, that Pollen Puff's not going to be enough to save you. That Wood Hammer, a super effective attack, will just pick up the knockout onto the Urshifu on Sasha's side. So now, Sasha is down to just her last two Pokemon, a low HP Amoonguss and a low HP Lunala. Running out of Trick Room turns. In fact, Trick Room has expired. I think this is just 2 attacks now, just Ivy Cudgel, Wicked Blow. I don't see a way for Sasha to get out of this one, so the Terrestrialization has not been used yet on Sasha's side, but even if Sasha survives one turn, I don't think it's going to make a difference here. The Amoonguss potentially could go for Protect. If Lunala survives the Terradark Wicked Blow with Terrestrialization, then maybe, just maybe, Trick Room can go up, and then maybe you can weave in enough Spores I don't know, though. That's just going to be so difficult, especially with the Urshifu having priority. And there still being 2 healthy... Well, Groudon isn't healthy, but the Raging Bolt in the back is just devastating. And yeah, no Protect on Amoonguss means that it's going down, so I don't think Lunala can solo this, even if it does survive this attack. And it definitely is not going to survive this attack because there is no Terrestrialization. Lunala is definitely going down through this Terra Dark Wicked Blow. So Ben here, I think, using Groudon effectively to make those damage trades in the early game of both games, and just being able to win in the back with the pressure of Ogerpon and Urshifu. So really impressive game there from Ben. Moving on now to 2-0 in the day. There will be 4 rounds of Swift, so Sasha's not out of it yet. This was, I didn't actually check to make sure, but I assume this was a match happening at 1-0, so Sasha still being at 1-1. Winning 2 more would still put her in the top 4 of the event, so could potentially advance still. But Ben winning here in this round 2 means that he'll be moving on to 2-0 and has that much more of a chance of winning back-to-back here at the Collector's Store.